Good evening, Capricorn. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Pure Tarot. I'm doing a reading under the beams of the full moon in Virgo. It's actually occurring tomorrow, but I got a head start on the readings. Technically, we're, almost in orb, so it's happening. I wanted to capture some of that light and bring some light to the situation for you through the cards. I'm going to use some oracle cards, at least just one as an overarching energy. And then I'm using two decks to maybe have either a story where there's two sides or two people involved. Or it could just be one continuous story where basically one deck clarifies the other. So, but that's not up to us. That is up to the cards to point us in that direction. So let's get that. Oh well, this one. It says within the next few weeks. So, in 2 weeks' time after the full moon, it'll be the new moon. So it could be a period of 2 weeks. It could be a period of 4 weeks. So maybe the next full moon. Not this one, the other. Let's see what the tarot wants to tell us will happen in a few weeks for you. But I would still think that technically there's energies at play tomorrow, tonight, tomorrow, the day after, maybe even from yesterday until, like 2 days prior, 2 days after the full moon. So for like a time span of 5 days. Anything relevant, anything you find interesting happening during those times, during those days. Take a mental note. It might have a correspondence for what will happen within the next few weeks here. First card out is the Six of Cups in reverse. Get some more, of course. There's a few jumpy cards, but they're not coming out. The Moon in reverse. The King of Pentacles in reverse. I'll get one or two more. Unless three. Six of Pentacles in reverse, Four of Wands, and Two of Cups. Well, there's love on the table. It's really interesting. I'm torn between pulling cards on this side already, maybe to look at a counterpart, because love is showing up here. So let me do that actually. Let's get the full view. What is the full moon illuminating? Now in this reading that will occur in the next few weeks. The Nine of Cups. The Ten of Wands in reverse. The Nine of Pentacles. I'll show you the cards after, as we go along. This one. Three of Wands. Too many. I think I'm going to get six cards so that I can really almost, I don't know, I feel like I want it to be symmetrical. It's got to be that Two of Swords and that Four of Wands sort of pointing me in that direction, and the Four of Wands on this side as well, in the same position. And we have two cards. I'm going to take them. It's a Five of Wands with a Two of Wands. Really interesting. There's like so many wands on this side. Anyway, let me show you the cards. So I said Six of Cups in reverse, Moon in reverse, and the King of Pentacles in reverse. Let's start with that portion. Well, the full moon is doing its job. The moon being in reverse, something is being revealed, something is being illuminated, something is being known, found out, expressed, shown, pointed to, highlighted. There's many ways, right? All these words have different accents, so take the ones that resonate for you. It points to a past situation with a masculine figure or energy. It points to someone you had a falling out with. It points to someone with whom you experienced a lack of stability, a lack in the continuum of the relationship, right? So a rupture. So in that sense, it became unstable and degraded and eventually fell apart. Most of it due to poor self-esteem, poor judgment in a situation, like a poor evaluation of, those words are not really exact. It's, how can I express this? It's a little bit a poor assessment on, I want to say, both parties. It's not just maybe this person or you, right? It feels like it's a question of perception, right? So assessment is maybe not the right word. It feels like there was like seeing things with the wrong glasses, like the wrong lenses, right? Thinking the worst, thinking definitely negatively, but thinking the worst about this, the worst about the other person or their actions or their words, right? Misinterpretation somehow, especially with the moon, right? A lot of misinterpretation in terms of the emotions shared. Especially with these two combined, it's reinforced. So this points to obviously an unbalanced exchange, sorry. But it also made you aware of what's important or what would be a fair exchange in your eyes. If you were to either reconnect or just connect with someone new, right? You've learned something, obviously. And there are 2 6s here. So being both in reverse, it accentuates the fact that there's a lack of harmony, a lack of being on the same page at the same time. Doesn't mean that you didn't have a vibrational match, but there was something about the timing. Definitely about the timing. There was definitely, or the cards are showing me that there is or was, at least was, great feelings between you and this person, feelings of love. A deep love. I really, especially like a true connection, right? One that you feel even before getting to know the person very well, like you feel, you sense it, you've sensed it. Because the love is showing here at the sort of at the end of those 6 cards, but if I analyze the 6 cards together as a whole, we still sense the lack of harmony, and we sense the misconception or poor perception, right? Of each other. Maybe the full moon is revealing as maybe the real reasons behind the fallout, and behind the sort of, one person expressing, well, I thought this and I thought you meant this, and the other person saying, well, when you said that, I also thought this, and when you did that, I really took it as, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm not necessarily sensing an apology, but I am sensing some sort of clarification or an explanation, or at least if it's not through the horse's mouth, it's definitely, that's interesting. How would you find out? That is a very good question to ask here within the next few weeks. It's almost as if the period from this full moon until the next, maybe, is the time span during which maybe you'll have things crop up where you have mini realizations. If it's not through finding out directly, I guess it's your own conclusions. Those are not always reliable, right? Especially if you had a misconception of the situation, right? You could still be having the wrong assumptions, right? Turning around, going around in circles concerning this particular relationship and the fact that it didn't work out. Because there's definitely, there are more cards that are showing me that it was unstable and there was no equal give and take, and not really, I'm hearing it wasn't, it's interesting. I'm not going to pronounce these words. I'm choosing not to because it doesn't feel right what I was about to say. I'm going to choose other words. Let's just say you're at the moment you're stuck on thinking about, the things that didn't go, that didn't happen, or that went wrong, and you're keeping those memories, the negative memories, at the forefront instead of the positive ones, instead of reminiscing about the quality of the connection and the intensity that it had and the potential, right? That is minimized compared to where you choose to focus at the moment, right? How you perceive this relationship, where it's at in your life. So let's presume that that was your side. When we read the other side, obviously apply, right? You could crisscross it and apply I mean, identify with whichever side is you, which you feel is you. On this other side, we have the Nine of Cups, a beautiful banquet here. The Ten of Wands in reverse. The Nine of Pentacles. So 2 nines on this side. There were 2 6s, 2 9s. It's really interesting, you know how 6s and 9s are reversed. So it's almost, I'm sensing like, obviously, I'm seeing 69, I'm seeing Cancer, the glyph of Cancer. I'm seeing, you know, the yin and the yang. I'm seeing sun, moon. So the idea that 2 things are perfectly fitted, right? And that's obviously emphasized with the 2 of Cups. 11 on the 4 of Wands. There's 2 4 of Wands. Here's the 4 of Wands on this side. A very different depiction than the Rider-Waite Tarot. So let me get back to these 2 9s. This person's perception, or if it's you, right, depending on when. This person was very independent, or is. I don't know why I said was. Maybe referring back to as you met them, right, and how as you've encountered them and how you've experienced them when you interacted with them. So maybe that's why I'm going back in the past and using was, right? And we do have the 6 of Cups, so it feels like it's someone you know. Yeah, it doesn't feel new, but I mean, let's keep exploring, and maybe maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe there will be a window for something new, but maybe opening up maybe the new situation, if there's anything new, might be only coming later on within the next few weeks. Let's keep that in mind. So these 2 9s are speaking of independence, true independence, right? The very healthy kind of independence where the person is happy to be on their own, and is not lonely. It doesn't mean that they don't spend time with people at all, that they don't, you know, they most likely have friends and family and, you know, things that are going on for them. But especially here, there's a group of people at the banquet, so it's telling me that they're comfortable in social situations, but they prefer, they do prefer, I have the word operating alone. Maybe it comes from like an habitual, you know, maybe they've been independent for the longest time, single for the longest time, definitely. Maybe they've had to gain their financial independence, you know, 1 pentacle at a time and through their own hard work. So they're very proud of that accomplishment, right? Very content and satisfied with having attained that particular pinnacle for them. They have experience at the 9 level here. They have experience. They've also gotten rid of things that were superflu, unnecessary, right? That could be possessions, people, situations, but they've learned how to, and it's part of their independence and it's part of the way they operate. They know exactly what they need and when they need it. So they sort of work as, they gravitate towards what they feel is really needed for them. So they're very in tune with themselves. They know themselves really well. And so, for instance, if they need to be around people because they feel they need to be social, they'll reach out to certain people, get together with friends and sort of fill that need for them in the moment. But then if for some reason they want to spend some time at work, let's say, for example, decide to work overtime, they can do so without having, how do you say, to report to someone, about their whereabouts, right? Regarding their whereabouts. For instance, it's just an example to illustrate what I'm trying to describe. But really, the key here is how this person is able to, they listen to themselves and they know what they want and what they need, and they specifically go for that and satisfy those needs in the moment. And it makes them very independent in that sense, They don't rely on another person to make them feel good. They don't rely on someone else to, pay the bills. They don't rely on family to, I don't know, feed them. You know what I mean? Like I could go on and on. It's just some possibilities or some ways that I could show you how they choose to live their life basically and live out their independence and their individuality. They need space. What it is also, especially with the Ten of Wands in reverse, it's really interesting. I realize it's not the full card, but with this combination and the things I've been saying, what's really peering through here is the fact that they have a great love of freedom. It's like one of their core values. And then we have a series of wands here. I've put them at the bottom. You have the Three of Wands, so the Four of Wands, the Five of Wands. That's really cool. 3, 4, 5, and then the 2. So it's really interesting. If I was to, it's 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost in perfect sequence. It's really, really interesting. That is really rare for me to draw a sequence in the same suit like that. A perfect, that is pretty rare, I have to admit. So this person is very fiery. This person is very, maybe that's I don't know. Fire is not really the independent or the air element is much more the freedom aspect I was describing about, the core value of this person. But being fiery, it would make them headstrong somehow, and maybe that's why also they're so independent, right? They go for what they want, definitely, with all these wands, all this fire, all this drive. But they and also a bit egocentric to the, if you really want to dig deep here, like it's a little bit, it's there. So this person, it's really intriguing. I'm going to put the Two of Wands at the beginning just to use the sequence as a progression, right? To illustrate what I have something that I'm wanting to bring across here. So with the Two of Wands, they have this amazing capacity of visualizing within their mind's eye what they want. And it goes back to what I was describing about being very adept at fulfilling their own needs and being attuned to what they need and when and how, and going exactly, like going for it. And that's the fire aspect of these wands here. And that's the being in tune, you know. And then they're also able to push further with the Three of Wands, and that capacity of knowing exactly what they need, they attract to them. And it's interesting because I did mention this person would actually be a go-getter with all these wands. And that comes through much more with the Five of Wands, right? Where the person would really fight for what they want and need. Maybe a bit forcefully. And maybe that's where the egocentric sort of qualities I was picking up on for this person. Yet they have this sort of innate, and it plays in with the Nine of Pentacles here. They have this Four of Wands comes through as, obviously, it's usually this, we use the word stability on this card, but it's a structural thing. And we sense it here with the Nine of Pentacles as well, right? It's this sort of capacity of structuring how they attain or, work at and operate. They're structured, methodical, they make plans. They really make plans on how to achieve, how to go for what they need, what they want, and what they desire. There's a lot of desire on this card. And what's really beautiful is that, it's not exactly the same, but you do have a correspondence of a 4 and a 2 on each side, right? So maybe somehow this is where you sort of connected with this person. There was some kind of, I did mention at the beginning that I did sense there was a vibrational match. I just think it was a timing thing. Maybe there was a big misunderstanding due to a lack of clarity, a lack of unexpressed emotions, and also I don't want to say unfair exchange. I think there was just no exchange, right? It just didn't happen. So it was a lack. So a lack of emotions and a lack of exchanging those emotions, this communication, or this, I want to say emotional wealth. It's coming through as emotional wealth, which is seen here. There's like, at least for me, and whether it's you or them, like the King of Pentacles is a wealthy man. So, and I always say that the King of Pentacles is wealthy in not just his money. He's also wealthy in terms of his character. So he's not necessarily overly emotional. Obviously, he's not the King of Cups, right? But he's human. He's got emotions. He's quite capable of having them and sharing them and expressing them. Is just, especially with the Two of Cups here, I think this person had, and even the moon, right? Even if it's in reverse, like even more with the moon in reverse, there was definitely a willingness or the intention of having an emotional exchange. Six of Cups, Moon, Four of Wands, and Two of Cups, there's plenty of emotions right there. Plenty. It's overspilling somehow. It's I'm saying overspilling. It's not an Ace of Cup moment, but you know what I mean. So it's really interesting because the sequence of the wands, right? It's actually 3, 4, 5, and then 2. So it's almost like something a crescendo and then some sort of slope where you get back to square one or square two. Right, back to manifesting instead of having gotten to maybe the Six of Wands, right, where you would have succeeded in maybe this emotional exchange and creating the relationship that had this amazing potential with both Four of Wands here. So it's interesting because I don't even see what happened that caused this, except what I was maybe describing about a lack of clarity and a misconception of what the other person's intentions were, you know, and a lack of, like I said, vulnerability and emotional exchange. I'm going to pull another card on within the next few weeks. You're the first sign for which this draw really came out as a love reading. Using two sides like that, two different decks, I didn't want to impose a love reading when I started the series. And I've been expressing that on the other readings. You know, it has to come out for it to, so that one side becomes one person and the other side is the other, right? So in your case, it's blatant. It is a love read, Capricorns. So I don't know if you're this independent person, but there's so many wands here. I'm tempted to say this side is air and fire, although it's all fire. There's no swords here, but because of the freedom component, I'm still tempted to say there's some element of air. And this side is all, you know, for me, there's cups, and with the moon, there's a lot of water, and then the pentacles, so water and earth on this side. So it's a really interesting thing where both of you would embody the four elements, but have the different, I want to say, compatible elements, right? So air and fire within one person and earth and water here, but the mix of the two like this maybe is harder to achieve, right? Water putting out fire and earth putting out air, you know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't mean that compatibility is impossible. I'm just pointing generalities regarding elements. But it does express, like it does translate here, it really points to a form of somehow there was a difference between you two, like, and I'm not saying energetically speaking, even if we're talking about elemental energies, I think it's like, because I don't see the two as being mutually exclusive. So I'm just trying to express to you that you're sort of made out of different cloth, right? Just because of more things like from your upbringing, your race, maybe your age, your schooling, you know, like the things that have eventually shaped you through your life, through your life experiences versus your energetic core, your higher selves, where with the Four of Wands here, the two Four of Wands showing me that there's twin flame. I mean, if I don't necessarily adhere to twin flame theory and everything, like the whole thing, I'm just saying I use that term simply to express like the strong soul connection, right? Okay, so what is this new card? Compromise. So for me, it's what's coming in the next few weeks is a compromise. If this situation is to maybe work out or rekindle somehow. And obviously, it's only a possibility, right? You don't have to go back to this person. But if you might disagree, but many of you might also agree that this reading is really showing me that if we're talking about someone you know, right? It's not a it's not a new flame, especially not with a compromise, unless you meet someone and you need to compromise. If I'm going to go back to the elemental differences or the upbringing and the all these different possibilities of how you might be different from one another, right? Different backgrounds, living in different, I don't know, speaking different languages, whatever, religions, whatever it is, right? Or a multitude of all these things, having to compromise to actually come together. I mean, I don't want to rule that the possibility that it's not a new connection, but I do sense more of a possibility that it's someone you know at least. And the falling out could have been like something never lifting off the ground, like never really achieving anything, like, just like not really connecting, basically. It feels like I'm contradicting myself because I don't know who I'm talking to, and I'm trying to give out different possibilities. I'm That's how I'm feeling it now. The way I'm describing this, I don't want to make it too specific, but apply it as you will, right? I'm gonna draw a trinket. I didn't pull a trinket for all the signs, but I'm gonna draw a trinket, just maybe one. It's a mini treasure chest. That's interesting. It's ornate, and it's opened. So it feels like this is the compromise, right? Because the treasure chest is opened. So there's an opening. There's a treasure in there, and it's accessible. So that's really beautiful. It's sort of it brings in like hope. It brings in more potential, like more possibilities. It's interesting because I did mention the wealth here with the King of Pentacles, and I mentioned not so much riches, right? Like money, and even the treasure here is not so much, it's this emotional wealth, right? And it's also this wealth of character, like in both of you. There's like, you're probably two intelligent people, with rich backgrounds in terms of the things that the life experiences you have. Like I sense that kind of wealth, right? Where, for instance, if you were to interact, you would have like great conversations because you'd have things to exchange and things to, maybe learn from one another. So that kind of stuff. It's really beautiful. And on the emotional level, it's if you have a treasure of emotions, it's sort of like the long-lasting Four of Wands effect of, you know, creating something that is, how can I say? It's like, because it's wealthy, and maybe because even the relationship could generate wealth. And again, I'm using wealth as not necessarily making money and, you know, owning land and all of that stuff. Not like that. Like, so this sort of wealth, emotional wealth, being like the ground floor of, like, or the foundation of the stability, right? Making sure that the communication would stay alive, that the feelings would stay alive, you know, that kind of perennity. Is that how you say? Perennité? Perennial? I don't know. That is long lasting. Anyways, that was a beautiful reading. It's great to have a love reading. Oh, and I've doubled up on the time that I've done for other signs, and it's great. It's just, there was so much to say here. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do like the video. I'd love to know if you did like it. Share and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.